curious, why did you become a money coach, or where did that journey begin?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was previously a teacher. So I was in education for 12 years. Ever since I was a kid, it's all I ever wanted to do was teach other people and work with children. And in 2017, I became a stay-at-home mom. I left my career to be home with, at the time, it was just my daughter. And I knew I wanted to go back to work at some point. And I figured I wanted to go back into work helping people with their finances. And the reason for this is when my husband and I first got married, he had $60,000 of student loan debt.
Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. We're going to continue the conversation on resilient strength, and we're going to take it from a money coach point of view and a mama too. So women who money plan. I like this subject. I think it's an important strength for a woman to have, to own her power and to be resilient. So let's dive in. Today, my guest is Malika, who is a money coach and a mama and all of those things. So Malika, thank you for being here. Please tell us more about you.
All right. Thank you for having me. My name is Malika Daniels. I am from Chicago, and I'm previously a teacher. And I have been a money coach for the past few years. And like she said, I'm also a mom. I have 2 young kids, a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. So I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. I know it's busy as a mom, and that's who we want on here, though, is someone who's in the trenches with us, right? Mm-hmm. So to start out, I'm curious what resilience means. Okay, we'll try that again. So I'm just curious, what does resilience mean to you?
Yeah, to me, resilience means taking some of those L's and getting back up again and just kind of keeping at something, even when it's a struggle, even when it's hard, even when you want to give up. It's just keeping at whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to accomplish, and sticking through until you accomplish it.
Awesome. Can you hear my daughter singing in the background? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, good. Very distracting. I'm like, I just told you to be quiet. So I think it's the other daughter. I forgot to also reinform her. So, but I edit these, so don't worry. If you flip up to, I go through and I re-listen to them and all that.
Good.
That's
okay.
why the VA, it takes a little time. And I've had my child interrupt me a few times, so that's why he's in his room right now. I love you, but should be asleep, but he's a little
right.
Wired. So, and I just gave him juice, so that was my bad. But so I'm curious, why did you become a money coach, or where did that journey begin?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was previously a teacher. So I was in education for 12 years. Ever since I was a kid, it's all I ever wanted to do was teach other people and work with children. And in 2017, I became a stay-at-home mom. I left my career to be home with, at the time, it was just my daughter. And I knew I wanted to go back to work at some point. And I figured I wanted to go back into work helping people with their finances. And the reason for this is when my husband and I first got married, he had $60,000 of student loan debt. And we created a plan and paid off that debt in 2 years.
Nice.
And yeah, so that was something that a lot of my friends and family were asking, how did you do this? What happened? I was like, oh, well, I'm like, I just don't like having debt, and I didn't have any student loan debt. So I was like, let's work together and knock this out. And so I started talking to people then about our plans and like how we did it. And from there, I just realized, you know what, there's a lot of people out there that need the support and helping to figure out how to pay off debt, how to build up savings. And I realized I'm still teaching, but just in a different capacity now. So it's something that I really feel like I fell into. I didn't ever think that my life path would lead me this way, but now I absolutely believe it's where I'm meant to be. I've always been very into learning about finances. So when the debt hit us, when we got married and we realized that, you know, he had this debt, it didn't really intimidate me that much because I'm like, I had already been reading finance books and following all the different blogs. So I'm like, ooh, I know what we should do. We're going to snowball this. You know what I mean? So I was kind of gung-ho and excited about it actually to get started.
Well, I love your story, and I've shared a little bit of mine on here. We also had a financial planner on here this month. So for some reason, this is what is the universe is calling to is finances and planning and things that I don't think I really grew up understanding. The only thing that was really drilled into me was to avoid debt no matter what.
Yeah.
However, after divorce and a few things, ended up going through bankruptcy, ended up realizing the power, especially as a woman, to understand your finances and the importance that I had my own money and because without that, I am dependent on somebody else. And that is not the way to be, because that's how you perpetuate relationships that sometimes are not meant to go on, that are toxic, or manipulation. I am free of all those things now, and it's so nice. But it took time, and it took years to break free of patterns people are actually promoting me into that would lead me to still have strings tied to them. And I had to recognize that first. But I also had to want this for myself and to understand that it was possible for myself. And I think that's where some people struggle. And if you're the mom in the relationship and you're not the one in charge of the finances and you're focused on the kids, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's really important to understand the basics.
Yes.
Because if something happens to the one who's responsible with the finances, it can all go completely to pot.
Yes, 100%.
One of my exes, no offense to him, but I was always in charge of the bills, and I let him take over at one point, and they didn't get paid. And it was not lack of, like, I think it made it as far as the envelope a couple times, but not into the mailbox or that kind of thing. Before everything went electronic, and it's much easier today with all the apps and that are out there and the information that is out there. So I just share that because I don't want a woman to feel like she's trapped in any way. I really, with this podcast, want women to feel empowered, and moms, because motherhood is all encompassing. It completely changes your life and your commitment to these children that are a part of you, an extension of you, but also their own individuals. Because the way that you choose to live your life as a woman, and the level of education, the level of responsibility, the level of pursuing your dreams that you get to, is the only thing they're going to get to. They have to see that example of what you're doing. And that includes what you're doing with the finances. And we're not getting that education in the school system. We're not getting that education other places. You do have to go seek it out, but it is out there.
Right.
My favorites are Dave Ramsey, David Bach, to me, that was so cool, and Mel Abraham, sweet man. All of which are just putting out there content that break it down into a way that is so much more simple than we think. It's not this big encompassing thing. But when you first look at it and you've never looked at it before, and maybe you look at your whole budget or you look at your goals, and it can, I will say, seem overwhelming until you break it down into bite-sized steps. Can you to any of that with your experience and the people you coach?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to break things into steps. And that's where my education, my background as a teacher comes in. I'm used to lesson planning. I'm used to breaking things down for people to make sure that they understand, and giving people like simple things that they can do to take action and get started. So even when it comes to debt, I talk to people about the 7 steps to pay off debt, and I have a free guide that I offer around that. And it's just simple steps. So it might be first, like, get clarity on your financial situation and understand where your money is going. I have my little notes here because I don't want to forget any of the steps. The second was make your money plan. So just like same type, kind of like a budget, but you're making a plan on what you want to do with your money. So now that you understand where it's going, you need to start planning out, where do you want it to go? Where do you need it to be going? And you want to see if you can reduce some expenses so that you can get more money to where it needs to be. And then the next thing is going to be determine your debt strategy. And so that could be a snowball method. It could be avalanche. And sometimes it could be based on the emotions. It's not always about the numbers. Sometimes it might be that there's a certain debt that really pulls at you and is stressing you out, and you just want to get that one done. Then that's where we're going to start. We want to do whatever plan is going to work, because if we just say we do this one plan, but it's not going to work for you, then it's pointless. We'll figure out the right plan for you. And then the next step is going to be to automate the process. And that is really going to help you to kind of put it on autopilot, and you don't have to think about it. Just set it and forget it, making sure you're making those extra payments towards debt each month. And then step 5 is going to be improve your relationship with money. I talk a lot about women's mindset when it comes to money, and developing those right thoughts so that we have, improve our feelings about it. And so that changes the actions and the results and all of those things when it comes to money. And then you want to track your progress along the way so you can see, am I moving towards the right direction? And then one of the last steps I say is you want to celebrate your wins. And it's so important not to say, oh, I'm going to celebrate once I pay off the amount of debt, because can be such a long journey depending on how much debt you have. But you want to celebrate along the way and determine for yourself, like, what are those milestones going to be on when you're going to celebrate, and what type of celebration or reward will you give yourself for all the hard work that you've done. And I feel like when we break it down into these steps, that's when I'm seeing lots more progress and success in accomplishing those goals.
So what would you say to somebody who comes to you and they're on the verge of maybe bankruptcy, or they're in a real financial bind and they're not seeing a way out? When do you decide that you might have to go that way versus there is a way out? Because I think there is a point at which I'd be interested to see what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like the first step is that financial clarity and really getting an understanding of what their situation is. I know for a lot of people, it's easier to bury their head in the sand and not look at the statements, not look at the full balances, just pay the minimums and just try to keep it moving that way. And that feels easier at the time, but it's just digging you into a deeper and deeper hole when you do that. So because it's feeling so overwhelming, because there's all these bills coming in, you don't know what to do. I feel like the first step is just to kind of breathe through it and let's dig in and see what's going on and see if we can get a clear financial picture. And once we have that clear financial picture, then we can start making some decisions. First, we might look at is, are there bills that we can reduce that you don't need to have? And we'll start there. And then we'll talk about, is there additional income we could be bringing in? Is that possible? Okay. And then we'll see what we can do there. At that moment, if we've brought in additional income and reduce expenses as low as we can go, and there's still no way to cover any of these bills, it's just like completely at a loss where, the deficit is just way too big, that might be a time when you start exploring, maybe talking to a bankruptcy lawyer and getting some information about what that might be. But a lot of times when people come to me feeling like, I think I need to claim bankruptcy, it's just so overwhelming. I'm never going to get ahead of this. Once we actually dive into the situation, we might realize that there is money that's being left on the table because they're paying these subscriptions that they forgot about, or they have multiple gym memberships and they're not using all of them, and things like that people might not even realize is happening because some of these bills are on auto pay and it's just coming out and they're forgetting about it. So diving in is the first step. Before you make any big decisions, you have to know what you're dealing with and get clarity first. And then we can reevaluate what might be a good step for you.
What would you suggest to someone who may not be the one in charge of the money in the relationship? How do you have that communication, and where do you help each other build on that?
Yeah. So I've had clients like that as well, where their spouse is the one that handles the money, but a lot of times they feel unable to have certain conversations with their spouse because they feel like, well, I don't really know. I'm not sure. They're better at understanding that. And for me, I think it's important to have your own understanding as well, and to be able to know what questions to ask, to be able to sit with them when they're figuring out the bills and not feel like you don't have a say because it's not something that you feel comfortable doing. So I think the most important thing is getting that financial knowledge and understanding kind of good habits when it comes to finances and what's going on in your personal finances. You should understand, what's the mortgage company? Who are we paying for that? And, who do we use for the electric company? And how much is it typically our gas bill and things like that? You should have some of that basic information, even if you're not the one that's specifically, handling paying the bills and stuff like that. But I think it's so important to know what's going on because, like you mentioned, that spouse may not always be here. One thing that people don't realize is women are more likely to be the head of the household, and that's for a few different reasons. There's single moms, right? So you're going to be the head of your household there. There's people who have been divorced. You're going to be the head of your household there. Women are typically going to outlive their spouses. Women tend to live longer than men. So even if you are married for 50 years, if your husband always takes care of the bills and always takes care of the finances and you know nothing, if this person passes away, how are you going to manage? And I have a client like that now whose spouse passed away, and now I'm working with her on like how to manage the finances and what to do, how to make sure all the bills are paid, how to budget for the different things for the kids' schools and things like that. So you just want to be prepared no matter what the situation may be. You want to have the skills to be able to manage in whatever situation you may.
And certainly you want to build on each other's strengths because that's how couples work. But it's still important to have the basic knowledge for these other situations, especially 100%. If you don't have a will or trust in place or things just fall on you. That's not the time to then be learning the basics. So it's great there's coaches in place like you in order to help with that. But that can be prevented. You can prevent ahead of time for those things. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about my great grandma. She actually outlived 4 husbands.
4.
or
my gosh.
license.
Wow.
So, yeah, so don't think the next one's going to be the one that takes care of
Yeah.
you either necessarily.
Right. Wow. I guess now that I think about it, my grandma has she's passed away now, but she outlived two. Yeah. She outlived two of
Yeah,
us.
so you never know how long you're going to be. She almost
Yeah.
made 100. She didn't quite make 100. She almost did.
Wow. Yeah.
As you were talking about all that too, I was thinking, all right, now how do we get the kids involved so that they
Yes.
get a base way sooner than maybe we did, and we didn't
Yeah.
figure it out till later. So
Yeah. So that's so important to me because I am someone who did not grow up learning about money. Like all I knew about money growing up was that my mom had lots of bills and there were people calling the house all the time asking for her. I didn't really know what that meant. Learn, you know, it's bill collectors. You know, she was a single mom raising 4 kids and trying the best that she could, but she ended up getting in debt, you know, because of it. But I'm also someone that for whatever reason, I always liked to save my money as a kid. I used to babysit when I was a young teenager, and I just kept all my money in my drawer and would just save my money so that
spenders kind of know
yeah.
you're a saver or you're a spender, or you got to learn how to be one.
Yes. And so like I feel like that's all I really knew about money when I was growing up. For me is like, okay, you can save up money and then you can use it to buy stuff. Those are only 2 concepts that I knew. And now that I have young kids and that I'm, you know, working in the finance field, I'm talking to my kids about investing. My kids have investment accounts. We talk about, you know, oh, when you invest in different stocks, you own a portion of those stocks. So my daughter knows if we're going to Target, she's like, oh, don't I own some Target stock? I'm like, yep, you do. So she's like, oh, this is helping me. I'm like, it is, you know, so I feel like you can start young with people might think are going to be over a little kid's head. My daughter's 9 now, but we've been talking about stocks for a few years with her, you know, and it's not, they can learn these types of concepts young, you know, savings, concepts of, you know, delayed gratification. You don't always have to get everything you want right then and there. There's all these different things about money that it takes us until we're adults to learn. Start teaching the kids now. There's a great book that a friend of mine wrote. I want to say it's Mina and Her Blue Bike. And it's a children's book about budgeting. And it's like about a little girl who wants to buy a bike, and she's seeing how much it costs and she's saving up her money. And it's really great. So there's so many things out there now that are available to help teach our kids about money. So there's not really even excuses to say like, well, I'm not that great at it. How can I teach my kid? Because there's tools, there's children's books to help you do it. So even if you don't feel confident, you can still read your kid this little book and talk to them about the concepts in there.
One of the simplest ones I've seen out there, I'm not sure who started it, but are the piggy banks that are like broken into 3 sections. Mm-hmm. It's like tithing, spending, and saving, just to give them an idea that Now I saw those and I used to think, oh, that's what I need to do with money. If I ever get money, if I have money, if like it was this weird thing in my family, because some people had money in our family and some didn't. And I didn't understand that money is a tool, and it was just the way different people were using it to maximize their flow with money, their relationship with money. And so I like the idea that money has a job, and I have to give credit to Mel Abraham for that. Your money has a job. What is the job that the money fulfills? And I really also think the concept of having an emergency fund is absolutely essential.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Even if you're paying off debt, you have to have the emergency fund. This year, all the extra expenses that popped up due to identity theft, my car being broken, my computer crashing, I would not have been prepared for any of that financially this year, or a hospital visit. I mean, they all happened this year, right? Oh no. But luckily, I had my emergency fund. Where would I be if I didn't have that?
No, that really is crucial. And I love that you mentioned, even if you're paying off debt, because that's so important. Because if you don't have any kind of savings and you're paying off debt and something else happens, you then have to add to your debt more. You know, like you haven't used your credit card to deal with that. So that's really important that a lot of people don't realize, is that you want to have at least something in savings while you're paying down debt. So that way you can be prepared for an emergency.
Well, and I think thinking ahead too, like people have their car, they have something that's working well. Like my computer should have kept going for a while, and it was really random when it decided to complain on me. Really got stuck in a loop in the memory. Like I found out it was kind of my fault, but I didn't know. I'm not a techie. So I wasn't really prepared for that one. The car, it was a car accident. Who knew when that was going to happen? Like you can plan as much as you want to, but that's why there's an emergency fund. And then there's all those other things you do need to think about and not be intimidated by. Retirement, something I'm thinking about at this point. And I don't have a lot to start with right now. And I have to start thinking about that as I have graduated, I've paid off student loans, and now that's the next step.
Yeah.
Kids have such an advantage because I'm discovering some of these things late because I was kind of raised to be dependent on a man, raise the kids, like that traditional thought of that's gonna be okay. Not much today anymore. It's a 2-income household, at least in America anymore. And it's just always important to have your own income. So that's something I'm really instilling in my girls. But also, if I knew now what I knew when I was like 16, that 16, 15-year age, I would have been putting money away like crazy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I like to share with people as well. So like I told you, when I was younger, I was a saver. I didn't know anything about investing when I was younger. But if I could go back now and tell my teenage self, like, something to do, it would definitely be, you have earned income, open up a Roth IRA. That is so key for children who have any type of earned income to have, because it's like one of the easiest ways to set them up for success with their finances. So that's definitely a tool that I give to lots of my parents. If your child has, babysitting money, or even like lemonade stands, or if you have a business and the child is working for your business, all of these things, you can have them set up a Roth IRA to start investing young. Because I did not know anything about investing. I just thought, save my money, don't have a lot of debt. And that helped. It's a great foundation for me. But I just know now, man, had I known back then what to do, I would even be further along on this journey.
Time to accumulate. I mean, that's the thing people don't think about. We live in such an immediate gratification society that it's hard to grasp the concept of a little bit every day, a penny a day, a little bit is going to get somewhere. And also just the idea, if you're going to be in the stock market or something like that, you have to ride it for 10 years. You have to ride it.
Minimum.
Minimum. So it's not just saving. When you're investing, you're putting that money away and you're putting it away and you're not thinking about it. And then you'll come out the other end 10, 20, 30 years out. Then you'll see the results. Then you'll see the numbers. Then you'll see the payback. And so I think it's a leap of faith for people who haven't done it, or they're expecting to go in and then they see something happen in the market and they pull out.
So
or they got lucky once and then they turn ahead and they're like, why isn't this working? No, it's a long-term plan.
Right. I think what you're saying is bringing up a few thoughts for me. One, what you just said reminds me of one of the phrases that I use with my clients when I'm talking about like mindset and stuff like that. And it's do it scared, because a lot of times people are scared of investing because they don't know, I don't want to lose money. And I'm like, what we're going to do is we're going to learn about it. And then we're going to do it scared. We're going to take action. It's okay to be scared, but that shouldn't stop you from moving forward towards your goals. And so that's really key, because I know people can be really intimidated by the stock market. I think another thing, something that you mentioned, is when talking about retirement, most people think of retirement as an age. And they're like, okay, I'm getting older now. I'm getting closer towards retirement age. But reality, retirement isn't an age. It's a number. It's a retirement number. So if you can figure out what amount of money you need invested and saved up to be able to retire, it could happen much earlier. It doesn't have to be this 65, 67, and who knows by the time we're older what it's going to be, 75 at some point, I'm sure they'll push it too. So it's important that people start thinking about it that way, of just like, how much money would I need to retire? And then how can I get there, and start building that way instead of focusing on like, okay, I just got to make it to 65.
Well, how can you start doing that for your kids now? Because that longevity, if you start maybe when they're born or they're 10, or especially that before that they hit 18, anything that you can do to start building them up is great. And I'll say I'm not where I want to be with that yet, but understanding what the next step is, and your ability, like Mel Abraham's Money Machine. I love the title of that, Building Your Money Machine. I'm sorry I'm referencing him a lot, but he's just been so great and so helpful to me, and just opened up my mind to things that even school I didn't quite understand, that you kind of start with the foundation of knowing your numbers. You have to know your numbers first. But with your kids, they don't know what their numbers are yet. We don't know what inflation is going to be yet. So the younger you can start for them, just the better. Because if you got a Roth IRA for them when they're 18, and you pack away a good, 10,000 away, by the time they're 30, they have $1 million. They can retire at 30. That's how kids are doing it in their 20s and their 30s now. Is they had someone set them up, or they've made it big online somewhere or something. Help. So if any of these things we're talking about, inflation, they're like, whoa, okay, you just blew my mind. We started talking about things that are more than I want to deal with right now. I get it. I was there once. I was totally there once. But I'm like, I'll just go to what I know. I'm going to avoid debt and I'm going to save. That's what I knew.
And that's key. So that is so important. Like, I don't want to downgrade the importance of that, but that's, you got to start there. You know what I mean? You got to at least have, get rid of that consumer debt and at least build up the savings. And then from there, now we can kind of keep building on what we're learning and go from there.
But be careful who you trust along the way. You really need to vet the people that are giving you financial advice, that they are giving it for your best interest. And that's where you have to educate yourself. You can't just have them throw something at you and know that's going to work. I've heard of people making amazing trusts, and they know they have a trust, but then they never put anything in the trust.
Right. So they don't fund it. Yeah.
They're missing one key step along the way so you've got to know what those steps are. You have to be informed enough to know how to ask the right questions and make sure you're getting the right referral, because some financial institutions are set up to sell their stuff. They're just going to sell their stuff to you, whether it is good for you or not. So make sure that they understand what your goals are and they're really there to help your goals. But like where I recently moved, it wasn't that hard. My bank has a financial advisor that you're allowed to talk to. They want to help you succeed. They want you to do well. And then there was another advisor I got through my church. I decided I wanted 2 opinions. I wanted to see 2 different ideas to see if I was on track, where I needed to go, what I could do next. And some key pieces that still need to fall into place. But I know the number, I know the goal, and I didn't have that before. I just kind of had the survival mode of avoid debt and save. But once you have a plan and once you know what your needs and your wants are, I think is the other thing too, because you can't hold value in just, oh, I've made it when I get to $1 million. Well, is $1 million going to let you retire on what, 10,000 a year, 30,000 a year? Or is it about the quality of life? Like, you need a lot. Do you need to maintain a certain lifestyle? Do you plan to travel? Do you want to travel? How often are some of those nicer things that you want to do? And the people who do them, it's not just because, I grew up in Montana. Nothing against Montana, I love Montana, but it was a lot of like people had money and didn't have money. There was like abundance and scarcity, and like no grasp of how you get in between those two things. So it was like, oh, rich people go on vacations. Oh, rich people go on cruises. Oh, rich people have nice houses. And then kind of that mentality of, well, that's not cool. I want that. Why can't I have that? Well, we can all have that. Yeah. It's the work we're willing to do, because it doesn't take as much as you think to get started. It takes time and it takes knowledge. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Definitely. It's so important to put forth your energy towards it. I always talk about taking accountability for your money. So taking accountability for your past, present, and future. There's always going to be different situations that happen to us that we can't control. But at the end of the day, we need to know that we are in control of our money. So we have to take that accountability and take action. And those actions are going to take time. Like you said, it is not a magic fix. When it comes to money coaching, I always tell my clients, I don't have a magic wand that I'm all of a sudden going to make everything better when it comes to your finances. And this takes a commitment. It takes a commitment to yourself and to your financial journey. But it is possible with a plan and a way to guide you through the journey. It's definitely possible.
And one last thing I'm interested, because I didn't know this was a thing until I met my first money coach. You talk a little bit about money blocks, something that we like grew up with, kind of some of the stuff I was talking about, stigmas around money or the relationship we have with money.
Yes.
You work with people around those things as well.
Yes, I definitely talk about the relationship people have with money. We talk about your money story, and there's 2 parts to that. So it's your old money story, and that's where the things that you grew up with, the things that you learned either inherently or like subconsciously that you didn't even realize you were learning, you just because you saw it happening. And so we talk through those things and say like, well, how is that showing up in your life today? What are some of the things that you noticed growing up that maybe you're still doing, or maybe you're acting this way to oppose what happened when you were growing up? And so we talk about some of those things. And then after we dig some of that out and talk about your any unhealthy habits or any spinning triggers and things like that, we will talk about your new money story, because now that you are aware and now that you're on this journey, you get to write the story of what happens from here on out. What happens tomorrow is not because of whatever happened in the past. You now get to decide. So we talk a lot about that and say, like, what are we going to do moving forward? We know what happened in the past, but now we're making a conscious decision to change our behaviors and to change our actions around money.
I love how empowering that is. And another thought came to mind, just not to be a downer, but there is such a thing as financial abuse.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's actually considered domestic violence. It is not okay for someone to say things like, I will give your kids a treat if, and then pull the treat, or I will only pay that bill or do this for you if you do this for me.
Yeah.
that is a very unhealthy relationship with money as well. And that has more to do with the other person than it has to do with you. But I would say don't put up with that and take your power back, because we all deserve to thrive. We all deserve to have abundance, and we can find it with the right steps. And you want your kids set up for success too. So just to any moms out there that might not be in the best relationship, either that relationship needs to change or you need to take your power back. And the tools here today will empower you, because I know the road to where I'm at has been long to get here. And in my 40s, what I wish I had known in my 20s, what I know in first marriage, what I'd known as a teenager. Oh, please take these things and please do them now, right now. And you can fix it. You can make it better, and you can start writing that new story that you were talking about. It's your story. It's your life. You're the author. Just pick up the pen, the eraser for the debt, however you want to look at it, the whiteout, whatever we got to do.
Right.
It's possible. I just want you to hear that it's possible. Can you give some examples of that with clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why I created Women Who Money Plan. I want women to feel empowered to be able to deal with any situation it might be, whether it's financial abuse, to be able to feel like they can leave that situation. They don't have to take it, whether it's leaving a toxic workplace, to have their finances in order to be able to say, you know what, I don't have to stay here. I have options, that kind of thing. I want to empower women to just take control of whatever situation you're in and not feel the need to just accept it. I think that that's really key. You have to build up your finances and be aware of how to control your money so that you can live the life that you deserve to live and not feel like you are trapped in any situation.
And you're worthy of whatever life you want. Yeah. If that's a block, that's another thing. That's another approach. So I'm sure you can find that here. Well, whether you want to do high performance and take that aspect of life, or if you want, I'm going to say it wrong again.
Malika.
Why can't I say this? Okay. Whether you'd like high performance coaching, if you'd like to work with Malika as a money coach, or we just had a financial advisor on here this month as well, there are options here within the Resilient Mother podcast for you. We want to empower you. We want you to love your motherhood and make it what you want it to be, so you can be the resilient mother you always wanted to be, or whatever kind of mother you wanted to be. You're unique, you're special, and you have your own strength. Maybe you just don't know what it is yet. And maybe motherhood's going to get you there. I know it did for me. So where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, you can find me on my website, womenwhomoneyplan.com. I also have a Facebook group. It's Women Who Money Plan, and it's a private group that's just for women. So we have a safe space to talk with each other, share our concerns, share our wins, and understand that we're going to be heard as women when we're talking to each other. We're going to understand each other and what we're going through. So those are two of the main places I'm at, obviously my website and Facebook group. But I do also have Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel, Women Who Money Plan, that I'm trying to get back active in. So that's another spot you should be able to find me a lot more this year.
I'll make sure I have those links here somewhere as well. If you are just listening on audio, and go find the episode on Apple, or you're not on the visual. So I'm pointing, but you don't see me pointing because it's audio. There will be here somewhere if you would like those resources as well. All right. Thank you for being here, audience. I hope you found something, a tool. Just take one. If it's overwhelming, just take one tool with you today to step in the right direction, and don't be ashamed in asking, reaching out, and finding the help you need, or looking online on some of these things to start gaining that knowledge that you need for you and for your family. Because you deserve abundance. You deserve to thrive resiliently. I believe in you, believe in yourself, and God bless. We will see you on the next episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other, because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.